as a teacher, as someone who's 20, 21 as a teacher, he's given so much up. Like, he didn't have to use his Wednesdays and Thursdays like with us. We would spend hours. We would spend hours there. And like, he's also like fighting his demons, fighting the demons of the people. And uni is a place where there's a lot of there's so much.
You know, we've always been taught that if you desire something, you should pursue it.
Go for it.
But also, if we love the people that are coming behind us, we too should look back and be like, okay, how are you finding it?
Because of the company that I kept around me,
Yeah.
it wasn't until after I left uni that I actually became serious. I was in that confused state where even though I was going to church, I was still living the world.
Us as well. They just wanted to see Northampton in revival, basically, and they set things in place. So like, we would do prayer walks and we would go around Northampton and pray. We would have worship nights and things like that where people would be slain at the altar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to The Serve. I'm your host, Shaun Rashid.
And I'm Fumbi Yusuf.
And I'm Yewande.
We didn't ask you yet, but that's fine. That's fine. Feel free to jump in. You are a guest. No, I'm joking. How you doing, Yewande?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Tell us about yourself.
I am 23. I'm a Christian. I work in the insurance industry, but the finance sector. And I'm also studying ACCA to be a qualified chartered accountant.
Jeez, come on, somebody.
And if you can't already tell, we're sisters.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I'm older, in case you can't tell, you know, because I look so young.
Girl.
But yeah, we thought it would be nice to get someone who's a little bit younger than us on the show, because there's this Gen Z versus Millennial battle now, isn't there?
Kind of.
But yeah. But it's interesting because you have two older sisters, myself included, who are millennials. I don't know if you're like, there's something called Zenellials, Gen Z and millennials, where they mix it together. So I'm like, anyway, I have a quiz for you that I saw on TikTok.
Okay.
Where they ask people questions about like the millennial time, and it'll be interesting to see if you actually know them. But okay, let me ask you some questions. All right, what does it mean if I say I'm going to burn a CD?
You're going to get music on a CD.
Oh, she knows.
Okay.
How do you know that?
I've burnt a CD before.
When?
It was actually for church. I told someone to do it.
Interesting.
It was
Okay.
a mix.
What is a Walkman?
The you put a CD in it and you can hold it and you listen to music.
It's actually a cassette. That's a Discman.
Oh yeah, that is a Discman. So
Discman.
is it a cassette?
Yeah,
Well, I heard this one.
Walkman's the one with the tapes.
Okay.
The Discman is the one with the CDs.
Okay.
I heard it in like a TV show.
What does "Be Kind, Rewind" mean?
I didn't got a clue.
Do you know? You know.
We can know.
You know when you play a video cassette, you have to manually like rewind it, so you start from the beginning. So people always just say "Be Kind, Rewind," like don't leave it on, like. At the end of the
No, I
film.
get the context. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Fair enough.
What? Okay, you've never. I can.
Well, I know what rewind means.
Yeah. What was Yellow Pages used for?
To find a number. So
She's not
Number
Gen
for what?
Z.
A number for what?
for example, if I need a mechanic, I could go to the yellow book.
She's not a Gen Z. How do you know that?
We had one, to be honest. We actually had one, but we didn't use it. We just
Maybe
had
she's
one.
a bit too old. She's a Zenellial. Zenellial.
Yeah,
Zenellial.
officially it's a millennial.
Do you know what Bebo is?
Yes, I do. You had it. It was. Yeah, I know what Bebo is.
Do you know what Blockbuster is?
I know what Blockbuster is. You get movies from there.
That was our Netflix back in the day. Where is the Millennium Dome?
That's the O2.
Yeah.
That was what used to be called the
But that
O2.
was the year you were born.
No, but I only found that out like last week because
Okay.
someone
See?
accidentally said it, and it was just like, that's how we know that you're not in our generation, because you called the O2 the Millennium Dome.
What is dial-up?
I don't know what that is.
So you know how you just have internet now? We used to have to actually click stuff, and then it would make like a ringtone type of
That
sound.
makes sense
Hold tight,
because-
AOL.
Yeah, you're.
That makes sense because when you like go to Zoom and stuff, it asks you to dial in sometimes.
No, but that's to join the meeting though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
meeting,
is like
phone
to
call.
connect to the
the
internet.
internet.
Like you couldn't use the house phone and the internet at the same time.
Oh wow. Okay.
Did you know that?
I mean, do you even know what house phone is?
I do. We had a house
we used to-
phone.
we had one for a while. to be
Yeah.
honest. Just no one ever used it. What does BAE stand for? You know when people say, "Oh, that's my BAE." Do you know what it stands for?
No.
Do you know what it stands for? What? before anyone else.
Oh yeah. I just forgot, I guess.
Because I feel like Gen Z just took that phrase and like, babe,
Yeah.
but no one knew what it stood for.
That's true.
It became a thing when I was like in college, like 2008.
I was only 8.
Yeah, that's how she knows her age, because she was born in like 2000.
Yeah.
2023, she's 23. You never have to think too hard. But yeah, okay. So
what's LimeWire?
Oh god. Oh yeah.
What?
LimeWire.
Don't know. LimeWire.
Oh, the bane of my life, giving me viruses every day. Not me, as in the computer viruses.
No, okay. Just have to make sure that you are. That's cool. Don't worry. We won't go into further details, but those that know, they know what it is.
It's like Spotify. Let's just say that. But yeah. So you're 23 years old. You're quite a devout Christian. Would you say? And how would you say, considering you didn't leave uni that long, when did you become like serious in your faith?
I would say 3rd year. So like I'd say my journey properly started in 1st year, because that was when I was that's when it was fun. That's when I understood that like I could be like, so for example, you, who is older than me. In my head, I thought it was a certain age I had to be before I could fully like be a Christian.
Oh, right.
But it was there I understood like there isn't an age to it. Like when you give your life to Christ, that's when your walk starts. Like you don't have to be an age to prophesy or to heal or to be encouraging. And so yeah, 1st year of uni is where I saw that it was literally a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds on fire for God and wanting to grow, and the people teaching us as well, they just wanted to see Northampton in revival basically, and they set things in place. So like we would do prayer walks and we would go around Northampton and pray. We would have worship nights and things like that where people would be slain at the altar. And it was at uni that I saw these things and where the desire and the hunger grew. So my uni experience
it was not typical.
It wasn't typical. So first year, as I said, 1st year was the beginning. I still went to the parties. But going to church on a Thursday and then Bible study on a Wednesday. The last 2 years, it wasn't spent like my 1st year, basically.
Interesting. I had a similar kind of story where, I would say that I was already Christian before I went to uni, but I think that was God saving me. I think it was a good thing that I was Christian before I went to uni. But when I went to uni is where I became kind of like more serious as well, because I found myself in a church. A lot of the people that like I would go to ACS with, we all went to the same church I went to the University of Plymouth. And so that was really good and like life-changing for my walk, because it meant that I wasn't on a path to like partying and getting drunk. I mean, I don't think I would have done that anyway, but yeah, I feel like I actually grew while I was away. Yeah.
I think it depends on the uni you go to.
As well.
And the people, no, let me rephrase actually. It depends on the people you surround yourself with.
100%. Yeah.
Because there were definitely the uni that I went to, there were people, like we had Living Words, which was the Bible study at Kingston University, which was there. And I used to go there, but I also used to go to the parties. And because of the company that I kept around me, it wasn't until after I left uni that I actually became serious. I was in that confused state where even though I was going to church, I was still living the world. So I think going to church was a false sense of security that I had, where I didn't really understand salvation. I really didn't understand our walk with God. But it was, to me, it was just religion. This is what we do, because I grew up in the church at the end of the day. So this is what we do, but I was still doing my own thing. So it wasn't until after uni that I actually did get saved. So I think it definitely depends on the company that you keep for your uni experiences.
I actually picked my uni based on that, because I went through clearing. And so when I went through clearing, it got down to, so you know, you do that thing, you call up and you say, oh, I've got this grade, would you accept me? And there was 2 unis. It was between Plymouth and De Montfort. I think it's how to say it. Yeah, DMU. So I was like, what I've heard about DMU is very much giving Brunel, it's very much giving party, sex, all of that. And I just said, no, Brunel was on the list of like
those are the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. Yeah,
like, there was a list of happening
Brunel,
unis.
Kingston. Yep. There's enough. What's the other one in Hertfordshire? I think it's Hertfordshire.
It's called Hertfordshire. Yeah. And they're the ones that always had like the big parties.
Yeah, I heard about Brunel.
I heard about Brunel. Exactly.
I heard about only from one person though.
Yeah, it was Brunel was not. Yeah, so it was between De Montfort and Plymouth. Obviously, I don't think I had even heard of Plymouth. But then I was like, if I go to Montfort, I'm going to backslide. I said, that's what I was thinking. I said, I'm going to backslide. And then Plymouth, I think it was a little bit higher for law, which is what I studied. And then also I had another friend who was going to Plymouth as well. So we just thought, let's just go to Plymouth. And that's why I didn't go to Montfort. Because I just thought, I don't think I'll survive spiritually. So genuinely, like, I was like, I really didn't, I was in a good place with the Lord and I didn't want to go backwards. So, yeah. But I think that for me, having like a church, it was a student, it wasn't, okay, so the church was like in Exeter, but they brought a branch to Plymouth and it wasn't a student church, but the majority of the congregation was students. So but it felt like our church was our Christian union. And so I wanted to ask, how do you feel like Christian unions make a difference in church? Like, do you think they're important? Like, tell us because I know, obviously, being sisters. Because let me tell you, actually, when she came home from uni, I don't know if it was first, second, or third year. It was during the pandemic. This girl, so obviously we grew up Christian. But then when I noticed the difference in her is that every time you call Yewande, oh, I'm in a prayer call. Every time you call Yewande, I'm studying my Bible. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Da, 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 da. So I was like, this girl's becoming serious. So yeah. I said, what's going on in this uni? Then I started watching her uni, their lives that you would do during the lockdown. And it was refreshing. I'm not even going to lie. It was really refreshing to see young people on fire for the Lord. So how would you describe like your experience there, the pros, the cons? And you served on the leadership as well.
Yeah, I think it is important, but the danger is like, it's like kids teaching kids kind of thing. So our leaders also needed leaders. They were doing their absolute best, but it was hard for them as much as it was hard for us to be able to respond and listen. And like, you learn about honor as well. Like, how do I honor somebody who's basically my age mate? How do I serve under somebody who's basically my age mate, kind of thing? So you learn a lot about humility and being humble and honor. And then also like just pressure, because obviously if you're a leader in church, outside of church as well, you still have to that kind of thing, because it's exactly because people are so judgmental in uni as well.
I've always said unbelievers are more judgmental than believers.
Yeah, because they're literally waiting for you to fall so they can use it against you. So there was that pressure, and then also coming out of your shell. So for example, that they might say, oh, can you do announcements, kind of thing, but it's just like, I'm shy, I don't want to talk, but these are also things that are going to help you just be confident in your walk, and just so that you can do other things. And like if you're given a kind of a gift, doing things like announcements or just doing more in the church will kind of just help you in general. So there's that. But pros again, like, so for example, it was just knowing that everybody has a gift and you can find it. If you don't go to church, how do you know like what the gifts are and what you have, kind of thing? Not that you can't find it outside of church, but you hear that you have a gift and you're curious into finding out what yours is and how you can use it to be a blessing unto yourself and to enhance the kingdom. So that is a pro. And yeah,
just a quick question.
Yeah.
So actually 2 questions, because I don't want to assume. When you were serving within the church, was you like in your uni? Was you like one of the leaders, or was you like the leader?
So I wasn't really a leader. I just served.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in hospitality and the account. I tried to do the accounts, but that was because I didn't want to be on the prayer team, because they're gonna ask me to pray out loud. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't push myself, but that was an opportunity where I could, kind of thing, and that would have helped me grow more looking back. So yeah.
No, the reason why I asked that, because you made a point in terms of it taught you kind of humility in terms of what's the word that you phrased? Submitting to people your age mate. Yeah. So what was your particular experience of doing that, of having to submit to someone that was your age mate?
For me, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard because I kind of understood where, like, not the pain, but he as a teacher, as someone who's 20, 21 as a teacher, he's given so much up. Like, he didn't have to use his Wednesdays and Thursdays like with us. We would spend hours. We would spend hours there. and like he's also like fighting his demons, fighting the demons of the people. And uni is a place where there's a lot of there's so much, and so wanting to help him help the church was kind of easy. So from my point of view, I think it was just also just my character.
I love that
That
help
kind
him
of
help
thing.
the church.
Yeah. For me it was easy, but I know like even from that, like some people were church hurt because it was like, I'm trying to submit to you or trying to help, but you don't see what I'm doing, or that kind of thing. But I imagine that people found it hard.
So what sort of things did you see, like, kind of like the difficulties in terms of submitting to someone that was your age? Or some things, maybe not necessarily you, but maybe it's that you saw from how that happened?
It's a bit personal, I think.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to give name. Is there a way you can do it without saying any names where it's not obvious that we're talking about a particular person? Okay, fair. Fair. Because I remember, we had something similar in our church years back where we was talking about how when like the leaders were first being established as leaders within our church, we had circumstances where we was talking about people might not wanting to submit to us because they're thinking, what's special about you? Why are you leader? Sort of thing. And it was a real conversation. So I was curious to kind of get your kind of experiences in regards to that, or how you distinguish yourselves in that regards. But no, that's an interesting conversation.
So did your leaders have leaders then?
So they had, they would say like the term spiritual father. So they did have like people, but not in Northampton. So there would be,
that's
it was
fair.
back home. Yeah.
What is your... It's going to be a potential difficult question because I'm kind of asking to speak on behalf of your generation. But what is your kind of the general mindset in regards to spiritual parenting?
What do you mean, like just a spiritual father, or just a past? I don't know.
Because I'll tell you where that question comes from. Because there's been a massive conversation within our generation where some people don't believe in spiritual fathers, like they don't think you should have one. I personally think you should. But I wanted to kind of get an understanding from your generation in terms of, is that mindset still going on?
I think the spiritual father in our generation is basically the pastor. Like, you would have a good relationship with your pastor where if you need something, you'd go directly to him. If you need prayer, you go directly to him. Or it would be someone in the church that you trust. I don't think that I don't have one. And I never thought about, maybe I should have one. I would just go to my pastor or go to somebody that I trust, which for me, if I really needed to, would be like the pastor from my church. But yeah, I don't think it's a thing that they're looking for or want. It's just my pastor from my church, or that godly counsel that they have. If they have one. Yeah.
No, okay. No, it's useful to kind of get an understanding, because there's definitely been a massive issue like, why is this culture? Why is calling your pastor your daddy? Oh my
God, I heard someone say that and I was like, we have to say, because the person was basically saying that they left the church because of that. Like, they were basically saying it as like a negative, like, they called this person daddy. And it's like, don't say it like that. Like, it's not always perverted in that way. Like, you need to look at culture as well, because, like, for example, we're Nigerian. In Nigeria, anybody that's like a lot older than you, like old enough to be your dad or your parents' you call them mummy, you call them daddy.
Yeah.
And so if they're like that spiritually to you, that's what it means. It's not like a perverted thing. So I think sometimes we need to look at culture as well. And also, if somebody is looking out for you spiritually, they're a good mentor, like they're treating you as if they're your son, daughter, like honor that as well. Like I get it, if you don't like the phrase, fair enough, you can, your mentor, whatever, but or discipler is another one.
and don't get me wrong, I do kind of sympathize with when it's been abused, because with anything it can be abused, but there's scriptural backing towards it. When Apostle Paul said, "My children, for whom I travail until Christ is birthed in you," he wasn't talking about his physical children, his spiritual children. So there's definitely a pattern for it. I just kind of laugh when people fight against it.
I'd just say as well, like, because of the term father, a lot of the time, because nowadays, like my pastor is my age mate, right? So I wouldn't see him as my father.
No, of course, yeah.
So I guess that's why.
No, I get that. I definitely can relate to that, understand that.
I've seen that though. I've seen there's a particular church that I follow online, and one of the pastors is very young. And so the person wouldn't disclose their age, but I can tell that the person's quite young. But people who I think are about her age call her like spiritual mama, spiritual this, but it's just honoring the grace that's in that person's life. Like, again, it's about our spirit, not necessarily our physicality. So you might be the same age as someone, you could be more advanced than someone, but spiritually, do you know what I mean? Like, can the person pour into you, or can you pour into them, type of thing? So with the rise of social media, I think our generation had started doing that, like millennials had started doing that, but I think maybe I don't know, it's getting even more out of hand with Gen Zs. So like, for example, the fact that it's so easy to get on Instagram and start preaching, it's so easy to get on YouTube and start preaching. Like, do you feel like people in the Gen Z kind of arena, or from your friends, actually have a time of coming away from the crowd and really building themselves up as Christians before launching themselves out on social media? Like, do you see, is there a disconnect there? Do people do that? Do they not? Or are people just getting saved and just going without mentorship as well?
I think there is a lack of mentorship and discipleship. I think for me, because for example, I was baptized at 14. My mom told me to, but when they were like, because there's classes you take before, right? I was like, no, I actually want to do this. But after that, it was just me. And it's just like, okay, there's a void that I know that nothing else can fill apart from Christ. But like, what else? Like, what does it mean to die to yourself? Or what does it mean to like deny your wants and your needs, that kind of thing? Or what does it mean to give it all to God, kind of thing? So I didn't get it, so I just ignored it. And then uni came around, and then things became clearer. I think people do. So, for example, I have a friend who he does have a ministry, but right now it's more about him praying about it and making sure that it's where it needs to be before it comes to the public. So it's very intimate right now. So that he can just continue to like hear from God and make sure that it's what God wants it to be, rather than, okay, I've got a new ministry now, let's promote it, and then everybody should come, and then it's gonna be a big thing. But no, he's sowing seeds right now and making sure that the leadership around him are people who are gonna submit and understand the mission and the purpose of the ministry. Yeah, I think it's very like, people do get saved, and then next thing you know, they're on the internet and things like that. But it's not something that I've experienced or know much about, because like my friends are Christian, but they don't have they don't have platforms like that. The people that I know who are Christian and do have platforms, it wasn't just kind of thing. It was more.
So there are people kind of secluding themselves and making sure. Okay, so.
But would you say there's a lack of mentors?
Yeah, I think so. But I think there's or there might be mentors, but they're not mentoring people. Like, do
you know what it is? I think what we were talking about, we've spoken about this before, where it's like taking people along with you, showing people. Maybe there's a lack of that.
Yeah, that.
Do you know what I think though? Because I argue the opposite. I don't think there's a lack of mentors. I think there's a lack of mentees. The people that actually want to be mentored. Because me being cheeky and I'll just say it. So like, for example, when you spoke about when you felt you got baptized in, I was just there. Your older sister was there.
That's true.
I mean, there might be obviously the level of familiarity of thinking, yeah, but Justin's my sister.
Yeah.
She's someone that serves as a leader within a church. So it's not like she's lacking the understanding of how to do so.
True. I didn't ask her, and she didn't offer.
Wait, 14, how old are you now? How long, where was that at the time?
2014.
2014.
Oh, I just finished uni probably.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, so I suppose it is also on us to kind of look back and be like, okay, where is this person? Mm-hmm. What can I do to help? I do that with my brother more, I think, because you show a willingness to actually study your Bible and stuff like that. With our brother, it's more like, what's this boy doing? Like, let me buy him this book and read it. Tell me what you saw from there. Yeah. So I think, we do need to look back. We need to look back and make sure, because it's two-way. Because we've always been taught that if you desire something, you should pursue it. But also, if we love the people that are coming behind us, we too should look back and be like, okay, how are you finding it? Like, because sometimes people don't even know that they need to look for mentors as well. They just think, yeah, okay, I'm baptized. Okay, I know God. I can speak to God for myself. I didn't know that I need to now go and look for someone to help me in that journey. So being able to like offer that as well, I guess helps that two-way street. It shouldn't always be one-sided.
Yeah, because I do definitely think from a church perspective, we wouldn't do it in a natural where someone is born as a baby, go figure out how to do the world yourself. You will go and you will actually look after them. At the same time, there's a lot of the reason for the pushback why some are less reluctant to do so because they've experienced where they are looking after people and saying, listen, I've heard from God, you can hear from God, do you and let me do me. So I definitely understand why that is, but I definitely think there's definitely the impetus from the mentee to go out and find out what they want.
And sometimes it's as well like maybe you want this specific person to be your mentor because of what you've seen on social media or because of you love what they say, but that's not the right person for you. And it's just like how do I find the person that I'm gonna be well connected with?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I do think there's an element of people that, what's the word? They don't value the stuff that they have or they value the stuff that's around them. Because like I mentioned, for example, what's the point of you looking on social media when your sister's just there? You live in that. This is someone that is a leader that does it for other people. There's no reason for her not to be able to do it for you. And I think generally people, and I agree there is familiarity happening with Jesus Christ. If it can happen to Jesus, it can happen to anyone. Jesus couldn't do miracles in his hometown because they're like, this small boy. We saw you grow up. Who are you? So I definitely get it. But once people break, like I've always said, familiarity is one of the biggest killers in the kingdom. It's one like it still confuses me why Absalom thought he would be able to conquer his dad, despite the fact that dad is the one that conquered Goliath. Like, what made you think you can take him off the throne just like that? It was familiarity. So familiarity is a massive killer. But once people are aware of that familiarity and they remove that familiarity out of the way, you can understand and take people for what they are. I saw this random quote the other day. Of Victoria Beckham talking about something that the youngest daughter Harper said to her dad. She asked her dad, like, Dad, when you're dropping me to school, can you like drop me around the corner?
Oh wow!
if you're embarrassed that David Beckham is your dad,
that's really familiar. That's true.
Do you know what I mean? People would love for David Beckham to be their dad. Yeah,
that's true.
You know, your Rolls Royce, drop me to the front. Drop me at the front gate. In fact, just park on the zigzag lines. Let everyone know that David Beckham is my dad. Yeah. But to her, that's like, it's dad.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's true.
So familiarity is a funny thing, but so obviously we're living in a very fast-paced society. Everything's online and things are going on all the time, and there's this culture that's been created called the cancel culture, where one makes a mistake, one does something rightfully or wrongfully, they've done it and people do not like it and they are ready to be cancelled. What's your thoughts on the cancel culture?
The cancel culture thing is very crazy, and I don't know 100% how I feel about it because of forgiveness, right? Everybody deserves forgiveness for whatever they've done, and it's easier said than done, but that's still the ultimate end, right? You're supposed to forgive them. But also when you don't have proximity to what's happened, how do you blur or cross the lines? So for example, on Twitter, there was a time where people were outing their abusers basically. And one of them was a brand who was thriving at that point. And it's just like, okay, so now do I not buy from him because one person said this, who could potentially not be true as well. So there's that, and it's just like, so now do I not buy from him and just cancel him because of that, but knowing that next week this might not even be a thing anymore, and he might still be getting orders again, and like it just might be forgotten. And the same thing was well when like people were bringing back up old tweets of like.
Kevin Hart, the Oscars, for example.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, so basically, Kevin Hart was meant to host the Oscars a couple of years ago. I think it was in Australia, if I'm correct. No, it might be. No, it doesn't matter. But then they brought up tweets from 10 years ago of his old jokes that was against the LGBT community. and it caused a lot of controversy, saying, "Oh, Council Me shouldn't be the one hosting the Oscars, blah 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 blah. He should apologize, this and that, that and this." And he was making the point of, like 10 years ago, this was the norm. Society has changed.
It's
since
true.
then.
Yeah, context really matters because, for example, Lena Rose said things about some black girls. She's a black herself, but at that time, everybody was saying something about a dark-skinned girl or a black girl or just anything. So that was the norm then. It's just like, so now do we cancel her? Do we not watch her videos? Do we not support her?
She's probably a different person
Exactly.
back then.
And they're like that. She's changed, and she's evidently changed because she stands for like women and like black empowerment now.
I think what I don't like personally is judging today's standards by how things were back in the days. Once upon a time, it was illegal. No, it was legal to drive without your seatbelt. Do we now start going back 50 years and start respective punishments for people who, like, times have changed, things have changed. Whether they're right or wrong, it to me is irrelevant. It's just, you can't judge today's standard, the things from back in the day by today's standards. If it was today that is doing something that's totally inappropriate, I totally get it. Yeah. But you can't just tarnish. And don't get me wrong, there are certain things that were bad, that was bad done then, but to punish to...
I think it's because
difficult.
People look at it as, if you said that 10 years ago, that's really who you truly are. And the persona that you're putting out now is just to cover up who you truly are. So, for example, if it was racist tweets that were said 10 years ago, and now you're a popular influencer, you're benefiting from black culture, but you said racist tweets 10 years ago. Now, that person could have completely changed, but also there's the other side of the coin where it's like, but actually, maybe that's just truly who you are. You're just not saying it anymore because it's no longer acceptable to tweet something like that. So it's like you almost want to hold people accountable. So I think what we should be doing is holding people accountable, but not cancelling them, because I think we just need mercy. The same way Jesus didn't cancel, the woman at the well or the woman that was caught in adultery, we can't be cancelling people as well.
3 times.
Yeah, and he didn't cancel him, he restored him. So instead we should be working to help restore people.
But is there also the element that there are certain people that don't think they need to repent for what they've done?
But that's the thing. Every time someone's called out, they always apologize. Whether they mean it or they don't mean it. They always apologize. There's always a YouTube or tweet or something that says sorry, and then they're now explaining their actions and stuff like that. So I pray that that's true, and not just because, sometimes you can just say sorry because you've been caught. Yeah. So I pray that it's true, but they can't, like what you were saying before, like, you could be cancelled today, but tomorrow you're still a popping influencer.
Exactly. Cancel culture is
fake. Cancel culture can be quite fake. And
so it's just like, do you separate the brand from the artist, from the
what they've
from
done
the work,
to their work? Yeah.
Or the artist from the song. I don't know. And obviously, like right now, we're picking and choosing, right?
We're 100% picking and choosing because there are certain things that the people that produced it, they're despicable people, but you still benefit from their product. So let's say, for argument's sake, the producer of this sofa, we found out he's done some bad stuff. Do we burn the sofa?
It's true.
It's like fast fashion. They say, don't buy from BLT, don't buy from Boohoo, don't buy from this. And it's like, but I can't afford Louis Vuitton vests. If I want to buy vests, am I going to be buying Louis Vuitton? I'm not going to do that. So it's like, sometimes you do what's convenient. Like, fast fashion's not good, but sometimes that's what you can afford.
Yeah. I mean, certain things, don't get me wrong, definitely won't buy because...
Yeah, if it's demonic.
Yeah. I'm not going to buy an outfit that's clearly Satan.
But this modern slavery thing where people are being paid like next to nothing to sew clothes and stuff like that, like from a Christian point of view, that's kind of sad. It
is. I mean, maybe because I haven't gone and done the research to find out. Because how am I going to find out how much they're paying their staff?
No, but you know, all these fast fashion companies,
they're not getting paid £10 an hour.
Yeah, they're not, because that's why they can sell the clothes. If the clothes are cheap, it's very likely there's someone in another country, in a third world country, being paid.
But that's the same with even major sports brands. They're paying them really cheap, but selling, they're just getting more profits because there's a high profit margin. So do I research every outfit and find out how much their staff are being paid? I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some people who are really convicted to do so, and if they, God bless them. I have no issue against them doing it. But for me, I've got too much other things in my mind to be researching how much it costs.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Why?
Because then when you look at the other side where someone's being
Abused,
forced
yeah.
into labour,
Children.
yeah,
Unless
and
it's
in so-
really.
so-
Where's our compassion for that?
yeah.
No, I have compassion. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is, unless it's out there, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but we're telling you now.
Okay, you're telling me now. Okay, if you send me a list of all the companies, I won't buy from them anymore.
Really? You wouldn't?
I wouldn't go. I will be more conscious about it anyway. At least.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to be more conscious, but it's hard because sometimes you just want to buy something from somewhere where it's cheap.
I've just grown out of fast fashion.
So where do you shop now?
I'm trying to be a Zara babe.
Thank you for coming and sharing all of that. It's quite insightful actually, and encouraging, especially for like younger people. So as a finisher, is there anything you want to say to other like uni students, people coming out of uni? Like, how would you encourage them in terms of their walk?
I would say, so I've been watching The Chosen. Well, I finished watching it. I loved it. You should watch that to get. It gives you like a visual representation of basically Jesus's ministry, and it also teaches you that all Jesus wants is your heart. So give him that first, and then basically the rest will come. And then find a good church, pray about it, and even though they're teaching you, also pray and go back on what they're teaching you, because you need the foundation of your relationship with Christ to be Christ, and you need to know him for yourself, not based on someone else's revelation. So yeah,
Amen. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely.
And here it,
Go on.
I'll say it.
Oh my God.
you know you're the guest, right?
Make sure you like, comment and subscribe,
and tune in to our next episode. Thank you for watching.